pumped into alternative energy worth it? Is the current national electricity grid able to use renewable energy? Why has the state not placed enough emphasis on using alternative energy as a solution to the electricity shortage? Is the reported Russian nuclear power plants deal in South Africa's favor, if it is happening? What time is it? It's question time. Hello and welcome to the show. My name is Mpho Tsedu. Amidst denials, South Africa is in an energy crisis. Eskom, the national energy company, has now said the country should brace for at least 3 more years of load shedding. What are the solutions to the current energy crisis? My guest today, Dominic Doyle, Energy Policy Officer at Earthlife Africa, and Jacob Mbele, Chief Director at the Department of Energy. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having us.
From government side, are there alternatives?
The question is, are there alternatives?
Yep.
Yes, there are alternatives.
Okay.
If you go back and look at the integrated resource plan, that is basically a government document in relation to energy generation. We have a mix of energy solutions that the country is pursuing.
Yes.
And we believe those will begin to address the demands of the energy.
Just share with us
the country. Yes.
Just share with us those alternatives which government believes can get the country out of this crisis.
In the short term, we're looking at demand side, which is basically mostly on the energy efficiency, because that's the cheapest, form of solution that we have. As part, obviously, of the war room, more information will come out of that. There are solutions that they are working on. We obviously working with industry, because there are industries out there, and actually Eskom has already contracted to them, who are producing electricity, and they are already selling to Eskom. We have rolled out the renewable energy program. To date, we've procured close to 4,000 megawatts, with already about 1,300 megawatts of that already connected to the national grid.
Are you happy with what government has said, or what he has said?
First of all, I'd like to clarify with Jacob which IRP are we talking about? Because there was the IRP done in 2010, and then in 2013 there was an IRP update, which seems to have been shelved, or it has disappeared into the Department of Energy, and we would like to know what's happened to that document.
I am referring to the promulgated IRP, which is the official IRP, that was published in 2011. The update that you're referring to, as you know, we went through a process, obviously, of consultation. We got comments, and the process that we follow is that, obviously, we get the general public comments. We take those into consideration, but obviously, within government as well, there's different policies that influence energy, and you have to do some policy, obviously, moderation, so that the solution that comes out does not contradict some of the government policies.
But how much of people's consent do you really consider in coming up with the final document? Because I would tell you, in a lot of things, it's just for compliance purposes that, yes, we did consult the people, but yet you still come up with what you had initially planned anyway.
Not quite, and I'm sure Dominic can say that. Most of their comments, truth is, yes, you're not going to be able to accommodate all comments. It's reality.
Yes.
But as much as possible, we try and take those comments into consideration, because we have to balance, the different views. Truth is, you've got extreme views on either side. So, and we're almost in the middle and trying to moderate the views and actually put on the table the plan that is best for the country.
Do you believe, Dominic, that the amount of money that government is committing to renewable energy is worth the exercise itself?
Yes, of course, and it's commendable how far we've gotten so far, especially we're now on the 4th round of renewable energy procurement. But we would say it needs to be far, far, far much more. The investment that goes into renewable energy is far more beneficial than the investment that would go into a nuclear power plant, for example. And this is the reason why I raised the question about the IRP 2010 update, which is because the previous IRP, this recent IRP update calls for a delay on nuclear power, yet we're getting all kinds of announcements that we're going ahead with it. And like what you were saying, how much of the people's concerns taken into account, well, I'm afraid with this nuclear deal, not much.
Which nuclear deal are you talking about?
These intergovernmental frameworks that have been signed between the Minister of Energy and various vendor countries. We're not sure what those documents contain. Also, President Zuma announced in Davos that he will be announcing a nuclear procurement deal in the State of the Nation address.
So what did you want him to say? You wanted him to mention who the suppliers are?
We would like a nuclear deal to be properly planned for within energy policy, and this new IRP update to be accounted for. We would like to see how much this nuclear deal is going to cost. It's going to cost around 1 trillion. And we would like an open and transparent process around this procurement.
Where are you looking at? And I guess it will then take us to Russia now. Where are you looking at in terms of this alternative sources of energy?
I think, as I indicated, I would like to go back to the IRP so that we clear.
Yeah.
What she's mentioning is one, obviously, of the solutions that the IRP, I mean, what goes into IRP is a number of assumptions, you know, that the model works out and it produces the different technologies. I mean, hydro, renewable and all that. And what happens is that one of the biggest inputs there is demand projection, you know. So depending on demand and depending on a whole lot of assumptions, I mean, one of the assumptions being your base load. Base load, for example, if you take some of the oil power stations, at some point they'll reach the end of life and you need to replace them, you know. So I hear what Dominic is saying here, but the reality is that the document as it was giving, actually, it was looking at, it had a number of scenarios, you know, and we tend to be picking one scenario and, you know, wanting to use that, you know, as the baseline, as the base. And as I said, the document is still going to go into a process of moderating the different policies. I mean, there's policies from environmental affairs that talks to air quality regulations and all those things. Until you have decided on those, that I am not sure where the numbers that we're quoting are necessarily coming from, you know, without necessarily going into the debate. But basically, as I said, the plan as it stands currently is the IRP, and that's the plan that we're using to execute even the renewable
Which numbers
program.
are you referring to, the cost?
No, I'm referring to the number of megawatts that needs to cater for the demand that we're projecting.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Now, let's get to my question.
What was the question?
Where are you looking at I mean, out of South Africa?
We have, in terms of, I mean, if you look at the RP, we look at, I mean, one of the things that we're looking at is hydropower.
Yes.
Regional hydropower. I mean, obviously, there's, I mean, the biggest resource with hydro is sitting in the DRC.
Yes.
There is still potential in, obviously, Mozambique.
Okay.
More potential. So regionally, we're looking at, I mean, options or projects that are possible.
Okay.
That could be coming. We're looking at, I mean, the RP says that some of our energy will obviously come from gas.
Yes.
We're looking for gas, I mean, regional gas resources that could actually assist us in that regard.
Okay. I want us to take a quick break. When we return, we'll continue our discussion. This is question time. Please don't go away. Welcome back. You're still watching Question Time. My guest today, Dominic Doyle, Energy Policy Officer at Earthlife Africa, and Jacob Mbele, Chief Director at the Department of Energy. Now, let's look at some of these alternatives. Solar energy is one which I know you would greatly support, right? But it is not coming cheap either. How does it become a solution when it is not so affordable?
Actually, it is very affordable. The costs of solar and wind are constantly dropping as the technology becomes more advanced.
Okay.
In fact, now it's reached a state that it's on par, the same cost as coal. So it is a very affordable choice for South Africa. And also in terms of the external costs, because, for example, coal-fired power generation causes a lot of pollution into the atmosphere, and these costs is not really accounted for in energy planning. For example, the costs on the health system, the costs to the environment. We don't know how much the Department of Health is spending on respiratory diseases in the places that are pollution hotspots right now in South Africa because of burning coal.
Okay.
And at the moment, because the Eskom power stations are in such poor state, they're even worse than they should be.
When is the Kunga project kicking off?
Sorry, which one? The
DRC.
Inga.
Inga.
Okay, in terms of the RP, we projecting that around 2022 or so.
Okay.
That's where, because if you take the time lines that are obviously involved, and I mean the infrastructure that you have to put in place to be able to provide.
What would have been better, to go for Medupi or go for Inga and ensure that it is up and running?
I guess if we ask that question, we need to take a few steps back and look at where we were when we started with Medupi. You know, I mean, the challenge with projects like Inga is that it's multi-party. I mean, to get that power here, you transgas through a number of countries.
Yes.
So there is obviously agreements that have to be signed. There's discussions, and everyone has to get their fair share in the project. So just that phase, you know, would have taken obviously a very long time, you know, I mean, to get us that power here. So if you ask me, obviously doing it at home was obviously the quickest option that we could have looked at the time.
And I'm sure you would agree with me that the quickest option was not very cheap.
You see, without necessarily, obviously, I don't have the Eskom numbers. I wouldn't necessarily be able to say whether it's cheap or not, because I don't have the details to be able
what
to
would
do
you have
that
preferred?
Well, Earthlife has been fighting Medupi since long before I got there, since Medupi was first proposed, because we felt it was this mega infrastructure project which was just not suitable for South Africa at the time. What we should have done is replace Medupi with more and more renewables. As we predicted, Medupi is running over budget and over its time frame, and it's taking a long time to come online. There's lots of problems with water up there in Lephalala because it's a very water scarce area. And yes, we just say mega coal-fired power stations are not the way to go. It was funded by the World Bank, which was also a problem, and the World Bank has just funded a huge renewable project in Kenya. And renewable projects are coming online, cheaper, and within the expected time frame. So renewable projects are showing all around that they're the better way to go.
But is it the most reliable?
It is reliable.
The most reliable, better than the coal?
What we need is a varied power system. So you've got different types of energy that can feed into the power system at different times. So the biggest argument against solar is, what if the sun doesn't shine? Well, if the sun's not shining there at one point, we turn on another power source at one time. So once our renewable energy share on the grid gets to about 30–40%, it's worth South Africa's investment to upgrade the grid to a smart grid.
I can see you nodding.
No, yes, I'm agreeing, because Dominic has mentioned obviously that you look at different technologies address a different demand in terms of the profile. You know, if you take solar, which we support, by the way. I mean, we support renewable energy. That's why we rolled out the program. Solar is only available during certain period of the day. So in reality is when the sun is out, the sun is not available, you need to be able to replace that energy with something else. And that's where we talk about base load. You need some form of base load. And traditionally, base load, yes, comes from coal, you know, nuclear, hydro, you know, because it's a consistent and, you know, all the time available type of energy. So from our side, we believe that it's an energy mix, the solution. It's not either or, you know, which is the approach that I think sometimes we do get, you know, from the different sides, is that we believe that it's a mix of these solutions that will make sure that we have energy security.
Do you have, I mean, Shears referred to the World Bank funding, you know, various other projects. Does South Africa have the money to roll this alternative energy projects out?
I guess if you look at what we've done currently, all the renewable energy projects, I mean, they've been done with private players. I mean, it's bids that are put out into the market, and the different players are encouraged, obviously, to compete on price, on obviously technology, on economic development or local development. And so far, the money that has built almost all the renewable projects that you have in this country, it's actually investor money.
Okay. And how much are those projects, you know, giving back into the demand?
As I indicated, so far we've, I mean, procured close to 4,000, and 1,300 of that is actually online and is helping, obviously, with the Eskom system.
Is it enough?
It can be expanded far more.
With the current resources?
Yes, well, it's foreign investors' money. It's bringing a huge amount of foreign investment into the country. It's creating a huge amount of jobs. It's a very, very positive move on South Africa's behalf. And in fact, the renewable energy program is praised worldwide.
Where is South Africa getting it wrong, according to you, in terms of policy?
Placing a cap on renewable energy supply, more independent power producers coming from coal, so there's new coal mines planned in the Waterberg region. Not using its resources, which is the wind and the sun. South Africa has got an excellent sun quality, which is also the envy of the world right now. And right now we're in a crisis, we're in an energy crisis, there's not enough, and we should be using this as an opportunity to do things the right way.
So why are they not heeding your call if what you're saying is so sensible?
Worldwide, there's a lot of vested interests in the fossil fuel industry.
Okay.
And South Africa is not isolated from this.
Okay. We'll talk about this after the break. This question time, please don't go away. Welcome back. You're still watching Question Time. My guest today, Dominic Doyle, the Energy Policy Officer at Earthlife Africa, and Jacob Mbele is the Chief Director at the Department of Energy. Now, Jacob, it would appear that there seems to be some form of pressure on the part of South African government not to heed the calls made by the likes of Earthlife.
You know, I use the RP as my reference point, as the Bible.
Okay.
If you go back to the RP provision, if you look at the allocation in terms of the 2010 RP, actually we're projecting that by 2030 we need about 42 gigawatts. And out of that 42, 17 of that should come from renewables.
Okay.
17 gigawatts should come from renewables. Coal actually only makes about 6. You know, it's only 6 gigawatt, you know, in terms of those numbers. So if you look at the numbers speaks for themselves. Yes, I mean, in terms of the rollout, I mean, the idea, if you go on a competitive bidding process, I mean, part of the plan is that you don't want to put everything out there because you're not going to be able to get people to bargain because there's only a few players, okay. You know, so you cannot put everything out to the market, you're not going to get, obviously, the best deal available.
Now, is there something which Earth Life is not understanding?
I think that they are better positioned to respond to that question. But if you ask me, I think I don't think it's a matter of not understanding. I think we're talking past each other more than anything.
Why?
I'm not sure. And I think we're talking past each other because, from where we sit, we're saying, as I indicated, the different technologies fill the different void or the different gap. It's not either or. And if you talk even to the technical people, you have an integrated system, that at any point in time, you cannot necessarily, you need to balance the system. Because if it happens tomorrow that, as an example, you have a huge wind power generation, and suddenly wind stops, as an example, something has to kick in. And if you said that, and that's something most of the time is the other, energy, what you call technologies or energy sources. And so if you only focus on one and invest only in that angle, you are actually putting yourself in the corner. So as far as I'm concerned, it's a balance. And yes, the debate will remain because, we're sitting in the middle, and we're seeing it. And if I put it, we in the middle, obviously, as Dominic mentioned, there's those who are pro other technologies, and we try and strike that balance.
Let's talk quickly. I don't know if you would be able to just, within this short space of time, address this. The importation of oil from foreign countries into South Africa, it would appear it's taking a whole lot of money as well, because if you're taking oil from Iran, for instance, when you have Angola not so far from you, you would be taking, more from, what you could be using to upgrade some of this projects, or even fund some of these projects. Or am I talking politics now?
I think so.
On the oil side, all I'm willing to comment on is Eskom's burning far too much diesel right now.
Okay, and Mr. Mbele, you're saying I'm talking?
No, I'm more on the electricity side, okay. So they're not necessarily on the petroleum side. So I think I'm almost.
So you want to stay away from politics?
From politics, yes.
Okay. Energy is very political. Anyway.
Okay. No, that's fine. All right. Thank you very much for the time. That was question time for today. A big thank you to you. And to my guests, get in touch with us. Our email address, questiontime@sabc.co.za. Our Twitter handle, @questiontime24. Or you can also follow me on Twitter, @mpotsedu. Have yourself a wonderful time. Goodbye.